everybody. Welcome back to Spirit Road. Glad you're joining us again. And we're here with the lovely Stephanie to have a conversation today. Welcome, Stephanie and Tim, my wonderful co-host.
Nice to
How
see
we doing?
Hi, pretty good.
you. Yeah.
Good. Good to have you here with us.
It's good to be here. You two are two of my favorite people in the whole world, so I love
Aw.
being here.
Yeah,
Likewise.
you're
Yeah.
one of my favorite people too. It's been
Hmm.
a while. How long have we known each other?
4 years, something that feels like much longer, but
I
yeah.
know, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
strange that way. Yeah, it
It
feels like
is,
it's been a lot.
especially since you all live in Kansas City and I live in the Denver area. But through the magic of Zoom and
Right.
Awkwardly
Yeah.
Zen meetup, we were able to meet. So it's
Yeah.
lovely to have you with us again.
Thank you.
So
Yeah.
where can we jump in? We were just talking about a few possible directions, and I really liked this idea of what was it, divine
Divine
alignment.
alignment. For me, it's through creativity, but really any way, anywhere with anyone I feel comfortable and safe with and know well. I'm like ready for that. Like I feel like that's what 2024 is for me. Like my word for the year is alignment.
Okay.
And I I mean that's really it for me. Yeah. So,
So, so when you say alignment, what do you mean by that?
hmm. I mean allowing the divinity that is within, that I believe all of us have within us,
Hmm?
more room to sort of come online and work more on sort of sinking like my earthly egoic self. Nothing wrong with ego. I don't mean that in a bad way, but to sort of align with that divine piece. So there's like this wholeness, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I to move more from that place. Like that's all it's about for me right now.
I love that. And how does that express itself creatively for you? Because you're such an incredible artist, and I know you pour a lot of that into your artwork for sure.
Well, I think it's two different ways, honestly. The first, which I've talked with you guys before about, is the process art, which is art for process. It has nothing to do with like creating a pretty picture. That's what started it all, and that's been like 20 plus years ago. And that's just sort of creating for creativity's sake and moving things out. If you're feeling an emotion, you work with that. And really, that's how I got to know the truest part of myself because as I was working that way creatively, things came up for me to work with in my own life, almost like a therapy session type of thing, but it was with my higher self kind of,
Mhm.
and I just followed that thread for 20 years with creativity. Um, and then something else began to happen. And that happened probably started maybe 2 or 3 years ago where it felt like I guess I was cleaned out enough of some of the process that other things could come through and of it's my higher self came through for sure. My original self. I don't know if I love higher self, but my original self, my divine self. But also interdimensional aspects came through and extraterrestrial aspects came through and that I mean and then we all sort of create together and words come and images come and color and energy. It's less about images now and more about color, energy, movement, and words. Yeah.
I was just speaking with someone earlier today about um I mean, it was a really big question, but just that idea of like, why are we here? Like,
Mhm.
what is our focus? And it was in terms of the work that I've done in IT over the last 20 years, and kind of recognizing that certainly there's the hierarchy of needs, needing to pay my bills, needing to keep a roof over my head, all of those things. But ultimately, in the grand, like thinking about spirit having human experience, there's not a lot of new experiences in that. It's been a lot of the same things over and over again. And will I see that they're valuable in the world, like to my inner child, to maybe, thinking of divine alignment, it's like I really want to connect more with like the creator or the
Yeah.
person who's here to have new experiences or to be in the world in different ways or to connect and see our divinity in each other and all of that. And really just recognizing, yeah, it's for me, it's a duality right now because I'm doing a lot of exploring, and there's also this little bit of like guilt and shame about that. Like, you're not being a mature adult, Tim.
Mm.
You need to buckle up and do all of these adult responsible kinds of things. And then the other side of me is like, but what am I here for? It leads back to the same question.
Yeah.
I think about divine alignment, it's like the answer is more about, it is about the art in whatever way that expresses through us in the world, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that creative spark. And then also, just asking the question, what lights me up right now? And
Hmm.
that may be different in 2 months, but I mean, you're still following that light of, oh, how does it want to play in the world now, or how, and yeah, I get what you're saying about that shame that comes up when I quit my day job.
Mhm.
It's been 13 years now. Who I had a lot of that for many years. And then I got sick, and that sort of took everything off the table. Like my body couldn't go physically go back to work then. And so I was like, oh, okay. I get it. And I do see around the world though, or at least in the West, that there's this change happening. People are wanting more of that, what we've just talked about, that meaning, like what does light me up instead of just doing the same thing every day for decades.
I think COVID really helped to shift a lot of that, don't you think? Because a lot of people haven't gone back to their old jobs or their old ways, and they are looking to expand in completely different ways. And I think just seeing people's interest in spirituality really seems to me has really started to grow even more and faster than it was prior to COVID. So I think that really it was a difficult time, and yet it feels like it really shifted everything with us as people, as society.
Yeah, that's we were just talking about how my art sort of shifted, and then I really became more aware of the other interdimensionals and stuff like that using art, and that happened around the same time.
Yeah.
Like it all lined up
Mhm.
around
Mhm.
2019, 2020.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when the world shut down and we were all kind of locked up in our homes and things. Two things happened for me. One is like I realized how much I had been avoiding sitting with my healing work, so to
Mm.
Mhm.
speak. Like all of these things that I really had not looked at in my life, I was really masterful at avoiding them. I would go out into the world and network and play music and hang out with friends and go on road trips and all of that. And suddenly that was all taken away from me. And all I had was time to sit with that stuff. And then what came up in the midst of that, the second thing was really just how much connection was important. I mean, like it just like not that I didn't know that before, but it's like really like that's what it's about. Is like being in the world, connecting, like again, recognizing our divinity and others and all of that. And I feel like with everyone that happened on some level, and maybe in that bringing us together, maybe that opened up the doorway to some kind of new possibilities coming into on a spiritual,
Yeah.
interstellar, whatever you might say. Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And in fact, for me at least, there's been a switch even in the quality of friendships and conversations that I have.
Yeah.
And Tim and Laurie, you guys are a big part of that. And I don't know. I mean, I'm guessing it probably still would have happened had COVID not hit, but something definitely shifted. And some of the older relationships that I had had in my life that were very, they weren't of that alignment that I'm talking about. And I couldn't be fully authentic, my full authentic self, which is, I feel like one of the only things I want to do now. So yeah, things are definitely shifting. I recognized how big connection was. And like, I love to be by myself in my little
Yes.
house in the studio creating, and I don't even go out that much. But man, when you take it away from me, I realized, oh yeah, I need connection.
Yeah.
But like that really meaty, heart-centered connection.
Yes. Yes. It seems like in my life, a lot of the surfacey kinds of conversations have gone by the wayside, and either those friends have come along and gone deeper, or they're not friends anymore.
Hmm.
And it's like you say, it's like those meaningful conversations that we can have and have fun and also explore with one another what's going on internally and with spirit and how we're working through whatever needs to be worked through, which seems to be endless some days.
Yeah, and how important true community is while
Yeah.
you're working through those things. Like we talk about people dropping away from our lives, and in some respects, for me personally, someone that I has been in my life, a sibling is now gone. And it's, working through that with these
Yeah.
people that truly see me and hear me, you all included. It's so important.
Yeah.
It's so important.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about how all of these shifts that we're talking about, and thinking also how probably part of our audience, if not all of our audience, is in the awkwardly Zen community. Like
Mm.
it might be fun to just, I'm curious if you could tell us a little bit about, like, because you and me host the Paradigm Shift talks third Saturday of every month, an open discussion about the topic of paradigm shifts. And yet that was something, that's how I know you, is that we met in a meetup group in person here in Kansas City for a group of the same name.
Mm.
And I think it's like the origin story of that is pretty interesting, like how that came about. Would you be able to tell like a version of that story?
Sure. And I have to say, it feels like a lifetime ago at the same time. You know what I mean, Tim?
Yeah,
Like,
very much.
yeah.
Yeah.
It came about because I personally was feeling so lost and alone. And I was having these interdimensional type of experiences, not quite like what I experienced before or after COVID, but just like I was getting journaling stuff coming through and things happening, synchronicity, and I just felt really alone with it. Like I didn't feel like I had anyone I could really talk to about it who would get it. And so I started looking on Meetup to see what was around so that maybe I could join a group or something. And I noticed that there really wasn't anything, and I did start looking in through like, as far as topics, paradigm shifts, shifts in consciousness, et cetera, et cetera. And when I didn't find anything, I was like, okay, I'm going to make one. But before I pulled the trigger on it, I was in the shower one morning and I heard words very clearly that
Mm.
basically said, find the others, I think was what I heard. Um, and that was my like thumbs up to do it. And I did it. I was so scared too, because I'd never done anything like that. And it was amazing. It really, what I think, was it 2 or 3 years, Tim, that we did it? Yeah. And it was just that community of people being authentic and real and going through the similar things. And now as we find ourselves on Awkwardly Zen and we're able to chat with way more people at once than just in a small back room in a coffee shop, it's just incredible. And it's growing because more and more people are in their paradigm shifts.
Looking
Yeah.
for community. Yeah, I thought one of the
Yeah.
most interesting parts of that was that it was an open meetup group. Anyone could have found it and come to these meetings in the back of a coffee shop. And and from the very first meeting for the better part of a year that followed, it was really only six of us, six or seven of us that
Mhm.
would show up on a regular basis. And every one of us had come to that group because we had had some kind of awakening kind of experience. And most of it had happened right around the same time. Very different experiences, but just these, in the defining paradigm shift, these events or happenings in our lives that made us really question our understanding of what was happening. The rules that the world is built on and that we all live by, like, were kind of thrown into question. And we were looking for community and support and conversation in a way that didn't feel judged or ridiculed. Or yeah, it was. And for the better part of that first year, yeah, no one found us. And then it was almost like a door opened and suddenly all of these new people showed up, and then Awkwardly Zen came about.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it has been this growing community, and we wouldn't know you, Laurie, if not for Awkwardly Zen. And
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
interesting.
It came at exactly the right time. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And what makes me happy is finally, after all these years of being on a path and working with spirituality, I have a huge community, which I never had before. So it's so lovely to see that there are so many of us opening up to this and waking up to this path really, and looking inward, like you're saying, Stephanie, and really finding that place of alignment with spirit and listening to that guidance. It's very exciting.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like you, Lori. My community was very small,
Hmm.
and now
Yeah,
it's just so amazing.
it
Thank you, Awkwardly
is.
Zen. If you're listening, I'm sure they are. I'm somebody there. Thank you, Ari.
Seriously. Yeah. Seriously. Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
Yeah.
Laurie, how would you define alignment, like in your own path? Like, what's been that journey for you?
I think similar to Stephanie's experiences, for me, it's been a long journey of using meditation for myself and learning to quiet my mind and my ego, finding a place for them to rest while I'm trying to get centered and be still, and then learning to pay attention to what I'm calling my soul self at this point, centering my consciousness into my heart space, and then allowing that to speak to me or show me something or guide me in some way. And as a result of doing this work and being in that moments of alignment with spirit, I've also found that other beings can step in those moments that are not from here, that are from the galaxies and interstellar beings that come and also provide information, which has been interesting and something I've resisted for a long time. But I feel like in the last year or so, couple of years now, I've kind of more stepped into it and I'm aligning more with it. So, but it's that for me, it's being in that centered place of stillness and then allowing myself to open to whatever that divine energy is that comes through and just feeling that all around me and in me and recognizing that I'm not separate from it.
Hmm.
We're all the same. We're all one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a big piece of it too. And when you start to move from that
Hmm.
wholeness, so to speak, then you do really recognize others as the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a big leap for me to move to that place of understanding what I had grown up calling God, to really referring it to to that energy as source and realizing that it's everything, which includes all of us. So if that's the case, then none of us are separate, and none of us are separate then from God or source or whatever you want to call that energy. And we're also not separate from each other,
Mm.
Hmm.
even though it feels that way sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just hearing your stories, I'm kind of reflecting on what alignment means to me.
Yeah.
And I think where I'm landing is this idea of, like, if in that sense, if we are individuated from source in order to experience the universe through the individualist's eyes, like, almost, I think about it like art unfolding, to be able to see that, like, to approach that from a place of lack or scarcity,
Mhm.
or to create to make decisions in the world that are based on fear is really kind of out of alignment. Like it's really
Mm-hmm.
leaning into the realm of possibility and also following, like you say, Laura, that heart space where it's like the things that you do are truly resonating and, filled with passion and excitement. And it's hard to do. I mean, in this world that we're living in with everything that's going on, it's not like that is an easy task. There are many things that are beating the fear or the scarcity or the lack or whatever it is. And it's not to say that those aren't real either. So yeah, coming into alignment is really this process of how can I connect to that higher self part of me
Yeah.
while still navigating a world that may not always support that too. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And trusting and allowing that part of us. Yeah, that's, and trusting that, okay, I have no idea where this money's coming from, but I'm just going to trust that if I follow what I'm interested in,
Mhm.
something's going to show up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think I read a quote the other day, something about we don't have to know where it's coming from. We don't need to know how it's going to manifest. We have to stay in that alignment and trust that it is,
Mm.
that it's on its way, and that's all we need to know and keep moving forward in that energy of trust. Yeah, easier said than done for me.
Yeah, I think 2024 is just going to keep giving till I get the picture and just give up, and allow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everywhere I've gone this week, there's been this message of this is going to be an intense year. I haven't gotten full clarity on what that means, just that idea that everyone is feeling this, that things are shifting. Um,
Mm.
yeah, there's an
There's
energy.
an excitement about it. To me, it feels very positive, and so it feels like, yeah, there are some big changes coming, and it feels lighter to me and more exciting energetically than it has in a while. Does I don't feel the struggle like I did the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know
Yeah.
what that's about exactly, but it's more of an energetic thing that I feel.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Big year coming
Yeah.
up. We'll see.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that there's community to be sharing all of the little nuggets that 2024 decides to
Yeah.
rain upon us.
Just before we go, Stephanie, I'm wondering if you might take a minute just to share about what you have coming up. The couple of things I know, Creative Nectar, and then this workshop series that you're doing with Valerie Lewis, and
Yeah, well, I'm very excited about Creative Nectar. Creative Nectar Studio is something I have been heart-centered. I co-founded with Jenny Hahn, and boy, it's been 13 years. And we just sort of gave it an extra boost last year, and we decided to get back on it. And we felt very, very centered to do that. And so we started a podcast on creativity. Um, Basically, it's like heart-centered living in shifting times and using creativity to get there. So we have that, and we have a community that's creativenectarstudio.com. And then the thing that I'm doing with Valerie is amazing. And I feel like we're going to have another conversation about that
Yes.
with
sure.
her. But
Yes.
frequency, intention, and color is about using frequency and including the creative process. And you don't have to be an artist to do it. Um, and see and allow what unfolds in a 2-hour class. And we're offering it for free in February. So it's the third Sunday of the month. I think it's the 18th of February. So yeah.
If somebody wanted to sign up for that, where would they do that?
They could do that at stephgrayart.com, or they could go to Tarot Unicorns and Coffee on Meetup and sign up there directly. Either way, it'll get you there. Or just reach out to myself or to Valerie if you know us, and we'll get you
Okay.
there.
And just to share that the Tarot Unicorns and Coffee is a Kansas City based meetup. So if you were to search by location, you would find it. So
Right.
yep,
Yes.
great.
And I can say that I have been in those classes, and they are incredible. So I encourage everyone to consider signing up. It's pretty intense.
It's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Well, thank you for being here with us today.
Yes.
Thank you guys. I love talking to you anytime.
Yeah, we'll have you back soon.
Yay.
Yay.